one way I can significantly increase the likelihood that you will say yes to a request is to ask you to first take a small step or a stand that's logically consistent with the request that I will make of you later. We call that first step, that first action, a commitment. Right? And what's remarkable is how small the first step can be, that first commitment can be, and still reach into the future and hold people loyal to that initial commitment, what they initially said or did for us. Let me give you an example. A problem that's facing restaurant owners. In the United States, we call them no-shows. People who book a table at the restaurant and then don't appear. They don't call ahead to cancel. They just don't appear. And everyone loses because the restaurateur has sent other people away from that table, bought food expecting that there would be people. They don't show up. There's a man in Chicago named Gordon Sinclair who's figured out a way to use the commitment and consistency principle to significantly reduce the percentage of no-shows at his restaurant. He asked his receptionist to change 2 words in what she says when she takes a reservation. Previously, she said this: "Please call if you have to change or cancel your reservation." I'm sure you've heard that many times. He asked her to change 2 words. Now, not any 2 words, not please, please, please call. 2 words that harnessed the power of the tendency of people to want to be consistent with what they have already said or done. So now, he has instructed her to say, "Will you please call if you have to change or cancel your reservation?" And then she's instructed to pause. What would you say in that moment, in that pause, if I first said to you, "Will you please call if you have to change or cancel your reservation?" What would you say? Si, yes, of course. Ta. Right? And that's the commitment. And no-shows at Gordon's restaurant have dropped from 30% to 10% immediately. Now for 2 words, not even 5 words now for 2 words. But 2 words that engage the power of a tendency in all of us, a powerful tendency to want to be consistent with what we have already gone on record as saying or doing. So what are the implications for you? We can take a look at the research and show that not all commitments are created equal. There are particular kinds of commitments that if you ask those around you to make initially, they will stay most loyal to those in the future. They will stay committed to the decision to work with you, to team with you, to interact with you. Right? Lasting commitments are actively made, they're publicly made, and they're voluntarily made. Right? By voluntarily, I mean they're not forced on anyone. People choose to make those commitments. But within the chosen commitments they make, if they make them actively, rather than just keeping them in their heads, like New Year's resolutions. You know how we resolve that we're going to lose weight or we're going to exercise, and we keep them in their head and they're gone, right, in a week or two. But if they're actively made and they're made in public, people feel more committed to stay loyal to them. Right? And the best way I know to get people to make active public commitments is to ask them to write down what they intend to do, what their goals are, right? What their expectations are. Right? Because people live up to what they write down. Normally, we leave the writing process in our negotiations with individuals to the end of that process. When we sign the letter of intent, when we sign the contract, I'm asking you to find ways to ask the people that you're dealing with to write down with you even your preliminary tentative agreements. What are the things that we can agree on today? Let's write those down. Let's get them on paper together. And as a consequence, they will stay more loyal to them in the future. Well, what if you're not in a position to get people to write something down? Maybe it's your boss. You can't ask your boss to write down his or her goals. Right? But what you can do, or maybe a customer, right? Can't do that. But what you can do is establish what you think are the preliminary agreements that you've had in an early session exchange. And then when you get back to your office, you send that person an email that says, here's my understanding of what we agreed to on a tentative basis today. Does that match your understanding of what we agreed to? In either case, it will be a good thing for you, because if that person says, no, I didn't agree to that, you've just dodged a bullet that would have hit you much later on in the course of things, when you thought you had that agreement when you didn't. But if the answer is, yes, that does fit with my understanding of what we agreed to, now you have an active, public, voluntary commitment to that initial agreement. Next principle for us to consider is the principle of consensus. This is the one that says, when people are uncertain, they do not look inside themselves for an answer, because all they see is that confusion. They look outside for an answer. And there are two places they look. One, authorities, experts. That will reduce their uncertainty and allow them to move. But there's one other place that they look. It's to peers. It's to people just like them. What are the people like me doing in this situation? If I register that and follow their lead, I'll probably be right. If all of your friends and colleagues are raving about a new restaurant, chances are, if you go there, it will be a good choice. If they're all raving about a new film or a new piece of software, chances are, if you move in that direction, it'll be good for you too. Let me tell you about some evidence of how powerful this rule is, that we follow the lead of many others and similar others as a shortcut to deciding what's good for us. And that will be true of your customers, prospects, co-workers. If you can give them evidence of what a lot of people in their situation have done that's consistent with what you're recommending, that will be a lever to get them to move in the direction of what you're recommending. I don't know what the word is for the kind of television commercial that I want to consider, but in the United States we call them infomercials. These are these late-night television programs. They seem to be television programs. They can last a half an hour, but they're really selling something. They're selling exercise equipment or cosmetics or car wax, whatever it is. Right? There's a woman in the United States named Colleen Zott, who is the most successful infomercial producer of all time in my country. Colleen has written the infomercials for the Nordic track exercise equipment. I don't know if you've seen that great big expensive piece of equipment. You might have one in a storeroom or an attic somewhere, because that infomercial sold 260,000 units in the first month. So Colleen knows how to move people, how to sweep people with language. But even Colleen was astonished by one small wording change that she has begun to make in her infomercials that has produced a skyrocketing of response from the audience. In all infomercials, there is something termed the call to action line. And it reads as follows. Operators are waiting, please call now. You've seen something like that, some language like that. Colleen changed 3 words in this line and then registered the amount of impact that it had on viewers who then called to purchase the products. The 3 words that she added, again, were not any 3 words that sent the message. A lot of people like you have decided to purchase this product. So here's what the new call to action line reads in Colleen's infomercials. If operators are busy, please call again. What? You're telling your customers that they will be inconvenienced if they try to access your products or services? That doesn't make logical sense. But it makes psychological sense. Think of the 2 images. Operators are waiting. They're filing their nails, they're twiddling their thumbs. But if operators are busy, it means a lot of people just like you have decided to do this. And calls went through the roof. And it astounded Colleen. And when you astound Colleen Zott, that's something. Again, the power of the psychology of these principles that can be triggered by just a few words.